Hello, welcome back to our series on lessons from Exodus. In today's episode, which is episode 16, I would like to discuss an issue which is dear and near to each person living on the planet. It is about health and healing. We shall be looking at Exodus chapter 15 from verse 24 onwards. Verse 24, "And the people complained against Moses, saying, 'What shall we drink?' So he cried out to the Lord showed him a tree, and when he cast it into the waters were made sweet. There he made a statute and an ordinance for them, and there he tested them, and said, 'If you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his sight, and give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on you which I have brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you.'" God made this fantastic promise to the children of Israel. He promised them divine health and divine healing. God was telling them a secret that would keep them healthy so that they wouldn't get sick. And if they inadvertently got sick, He would heal them immediately. Can you tell me one person on earth who would not like to live a healthy life? Just look at what each country is spending on healthcare these days. There's a lot of data that I could provide you that'll give you an idea of how much each country is spending on the healthcare of their population up until last year. But I don't want to bore you with statistics. However, I would like to highlight some of the facts with you. Here are some things that you might be interested in. According to some data, health expenditures in the United States have tripled from 1.4 trillion in the year 2000 to 4.5 trillion in 2022. So the healthcare expenditures tripled in a span of only 2 years. How fast is the pharmaceutical industry growing? Of course, pharmaceutical industry's growth is directly in proportion to the number of people who needs treatment, people who are getting sick, in other words. Now, according to one report, it says that pharmaceutical industry is supposed to experience a compound annual growth rate of 7.63% from the year 2023 to 2030. Now, that is quite a huge growth. Another report, Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Market Size Report by 2032, projects the market size to surpass around US dollars $1,468 billion by 2032 at the compound annual growth rate of 12.5%. That means from now until the year 2032, they're expecting a compound annual growth rate of 12.5%. That means that every year, the overall size of the pharmaceutical industry is going to grow by 12.5%. So 12.5% this year, and then another 12.5% the next year, another 12.5% next year, another 12.5% next year until the year 2032. This is a projection of the growth rate of the pharmaceutical industry until the year 2032. We don't know what is beyond that. So what I am saying is this, that from looking at what each country is spending on healthcare and comparing it with the growth of the pharmaceutical industry, the conclusion that I can draw is as follows. It may not be a very scientific conclusion, but I think I'm not that far off the facts. Every year, more and more people are getting sick, and the sick are getting sicker. This is in a stark contrast to what God promised to the Israelites when they came out of Egypt. Let's look at the promise God gave them again. Exodus 15:26, it says, "If you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his sight, give ear to his commandments and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on you which I brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you." I would like you to notice that God made this promise to them in the wilderness after he tested them in the waters of Marah. They did not have water to drink. Now, water is essential for survival. Not having water to drink was an existential threat. Their need was genuine, but the way they went about trying to meet that need was wrong. They complained to Moses. God does not like complaining. Later, we shall see how God responds to the constant complaints by the children of Israel. But for now, let us establish the following facts from this particular incident. Number one, God was leading the children of Israel through the wilderness. There were 600,000 men, besides women and children. They also had a large number of cattle and livestock with them. They would need food, obviously, water, sanitation, suitable places to live, and protection from wild animals and inclement weather conditions, to mention a few. God was aware of all these. He was not taken by surprise at the huge needs these people had. They would have to be taken care of for not just a short period. It would take years before they would be ready to cross the river Jordan into the promised land. Number two, God had demonstrated by all the events that took place in Egypt right before their eyes that He was all powerful. He was Lord over everything. Nothing and no one was greater than Him. By a natural and logical extension, should it be hard for God to take care of His people now once He had succeeded in taking them out of slavery in Egypt and destroying all their enemies? Of course not. But Israel consistently failed to see and acknowledge God's ability to take care of them. So they constantly complained to Moses and Aaron, their two top leaders. Number three, the long journey through the wilderness was God's way to test the children of Israel. He wanted to see, and He wanted them to see, if they would trust God for supernatural protection and provision, or if they would want to go back to the life they once had in Egypt. He meant for them to pass the test, but we shall see later that they failed almost every time. Number four, to motivate them to obedience, God promised them divine health. But it would be based on the conditions that they diligently paid attention to what God was saying and obeying what He was commanding them to do. By simply listening to and obeying God, they would never get sick. This was a great promise. It should not be hard for them to do these two things, should it? I mean, the conditions God laid out for them were very simple to follow. The benefits of meeting those conditions would be out of this world. Even though Israel failed to comply with these two conditions, God still blessed them with relatively good health. The Bible says in Deuteronomy 29:5 as follows, "And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes have not worn out on you, and your sandals have not worn out on your feet." During the 40 years that the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness, there was none feeble among them. Psalm 105, verse 37. This is what God did despite them failing to obey. How much more would God have given them in terms of health had they obeyed? How does this apply to us today? The Bible says that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Whatever He promised the children of Israel back then, He would do the same for us even today. What does divine health look like? Is there anyone in the Bible who enjoyed divine health that we can look at that person to know what divine health is like? The best example, other than Jesus, is Moses. Deuteronomy 34 is a tribute to Moses. This man was so healthy at the age of 120 years, his eyes were not dimmed and his natural strength did not abate. This is verse 7. What does it mean? At the age of 120 years, Moses was as fit as a teenager. He had strong bones, great muscle tone, nice skin, very sharp memory. All the systems of his body were functioning at their peak. He could walk for miles and not run out of breath. Even at that age, Moses wouldn't die. God had to take him out. If God had let him live, He would have led the new generation of the Israelites across River Jordan to fight those giants in the Canaan land. Can you imagine being healthy like Moses? No heart problems, no diabetes, no macular degeneration, no prostate issue, No indigestion, bloating, or gas. No osteoporosis. No cataract. Not even reading glasses required. Which pharma company today would not like to make an appointment with Moses to interview him to find out about his health secrets? Companies are spending millions every year to try to uncover the secrets to health, and yet the secrets are not so secret. They are given right there in Exodus 15:26. In fact, there's only one secret. Listen to God and obey Him. It's that simple. Listen to me now. I'm not trying to be oversimplistic. I'm aware of the complexities we all deal with today. I'm aware that understanding diseases, how they occur, what we can do to heal them, and what we can do to prevent them, these are all complex issues. Our bodies are faced with onslaughts from every side. There are genetic issues we have to deal with. Then there are environmental issues that today pose such a threat to humanity. Accidental issues are another area we have to factor in. Soil quality and hence food quality have been declining over the years because of bad farming practices and overuse of pesticides and chemical fertilizers. There is not one reason, but multiple reasons why people get sick today. The world we live in is far more complex than the world Moses was living in. However, did not God know that in today's world we would have all these challenges to our health? Of course He did. His promise still stands today. Now, am I speaking as someone who is walking in divine health because I have been perfecting the practice of listening to and obeying God? No, I am not. I'm a learner just like you. I'm trying to get there myself. So this message is as much speaking to me as to you. Am I discounting medical science and all the health industry has been offering us? Not at all. There is a place for medicine in God's overall plan to provide us with health. How do I know that? Let's look at nutrition. No one will deny today that nutrition plays a very important role in promoting or destroying one's health. So, in the book of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, God spends a large portion of time giving Moses instructions about what God's people should eat and what they should not eat. That in itself is a divine blueprint for health promoting nutrition. How about medicine and doctors? Isaiah asked Hezekiah's doctor to apply a poultice of figs on his boil. In 2 Kings 20:7, we read this. Then Isaiah said, "Take a lump of figs." So they took and laid it on the boil, and he recovered. Hezekiah was supposed to die, but he was healed. Luke, a disciple of Jesus, was a medical doctor. Even the priests in the Old Testament were taught to diagnose diseases. So, there is a place for nutrition, doctors, medicine, and supplements in providing cures and promoting health. However, when we neglect to follow what God has taught us and overemphasize the importance of nutrition and over-rely on doctors and medicine, then we are replacing our trust in God with these other things He has provided us. Ultimately, all healing comes from God. He can heal us directly without any outside intervention, or He can use nutrition, doctors, medicine, and supplements to heal us. He is a healer. He can use any method He likes. God has been showing different people around the world what herbs and naturally occurring substances they can use to heal chronic and life-threatening diseases. There's a link in the description under this video that will take you to one of those companies that has been diligently working with doctors to provide natural cures for various ailments. You should check it out. I'm always interested in learning about discoveries and breakthroughs in medical science. I care about health. I'm not a doctor. I cannot diagnose diseases. Neither am I a psychiatrist, healthcare professional, or nutritionist. I'm a passionate seeker to find ways that will help me and others enjoy life to the maximum. That includes enjoying good health. But in all of my searching, if I do not walk in obedience to God, then I am replacing God with science and technology. Science and technology have now become my idols. God said that He hates idols. We are not to have any idol before Him. However, if we seek to put God first in our lives, we can still look for solutions in science and technology for our health issues. God can show us what we need to do to find healing and cures for our ailments. But we should never trust doctors, medicine, nutrition, and supplements more than God. Seeking cures through all these means and disregarding God is a formula for our downfall. There's a story in 2 Chronicles chapter 16 about King Asa. King Asa got sick. He saw doctors and did not seek God, so he died of his illness. Let's read it. 2 Chronicles 16, 12 and 13. And in the 39th year of his reign, Asa became diseased in his feet, and his malady was severe. Yet in his disease he did not seek the Lord, but the physicians. So Asa rested with his fathers. He died in the 41st year of his reign. Let us not follow Asa's example. His heart had turned away from Yahweh, and that is why he would not humble himself to seek God in his illness. He only sought physicians. Being a king, he had all the money to get the best doctors he could find, but no doctor could cure him. What is the condition of your heart today? Are you faithfully following God, trying to listen to His voice and obey Him? If so, you're in good hands today. You can trust God for your health. He will show you what you can do so that you are healed of your condition and that you can live a healthy life. If you're not walking with God today, why don't you turn back to Him? Say to Him that you're sorry. Become willing and obedient so that He can feed you with good things and bless your health and your life. I hope this message has challenged you as it has challenged me. If it has blessed you, please share it with your friends. And I shall see you in the next video. God bless.